What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This is your brother Chief Kalinago with another video. I'm gonna give you some time to tune in, plug in. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let me see. First off, I want to acknowledge the Great Spirit, Universal Intelligence, the Great I Am, what we refer to as God. I want to acknowledge my ancestors, thanking them for guiding me and protecting me, knowing that any weapons formed against me will never prosper. So I am highly favored. Okay, do me a favor, please share this information, share the video, share the video. All right. So we are gonna get into, like I said, when I run into articles and there's information that I feel that is pertinent to our growth as to who we are as a people, I like to bring the information to you. So with that being said, I have another good one here for us because my thing is I want to bring everybody on a level when we step up as a people, then we are able to make sure that everybody could play their part. Because what I've noticed is, that happened in the past, right? When everybody was looking for this one leader, okay? And when that leader happened to, be taken off, or they killed that leader, or that leader just stopped doing whatever, the case may be, then it's another 40 or 50 years before people start even doing anything. You see what I'm saying? So my goal is to make sure that since we are in the age of Aquarius, give everybody enough information. So even if they take out one individual, we still have 1 million, 2 million people that still have the information that could carry on the legacy, or whatever we want to accomplish. But the point is, it's always important to share the information and teach our family. We got to teach, because remember, the brainwashing, it was very, very deep, and it is still deep. A lot of our people are still in a coma, and the more information we could give them to bring the proof of who we are, okay, then I think it's going to help out. So one of my indigenous brothers, Mr. Harris, I'll call him Mr. Harris. He normally send me a lot of documents, through my email, and then I go through them when I have time. And when a few of them catch my my attention, I like to bring that to y'all. So this is one of them. It's actually on Facebook. You see what I'm saying? It's actually on Facebook, but it's a link that I've had for a while. And I didn't promise I was going to do another video. I say I may. So here is my may. I am doing an actual video. So great information. It's a little bit of reading, but I like to read. So just bear with me. It's been a long day. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to read the article. And please do me a favor, family. Please, lineage, share the information, man. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Show them the proof, because slowly but surely, I promise you, the majority of them will come around. Okay, so for those of you that are already tuned in, we have Malka. What's going on? We have my brother Jonathan. What it is, what it is, what it is. So let's get into that. All right. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm about. I tell people I don't want to be nobody's leader. Okay, it's okay to have a position. It's okay. There's nothing wrong in having a responsibility in terms of position wise, but I don't want to be leading people. I want everybody to have the information so everybody could stand on their own and let us walk together. I don't want people following me at all. All right. So, and I know what I mean by that. Okay, like I just explained earlier, look what happened to Malcolm X, what happened to Martin Luther King, what happened to Rosa Parks. Like they were just that one figure. And as soon as it seemed like, the media decided that they were not relevant anymore, then our people went back into a coma for 10, 15, 20 years. You feel me? So for me, I want that to be different with, my time. So I want to teach everybody. So no matter what happens to me or any other individual, I have done my part by creating people that know who they are and are willing to take up from where I left off and not have to wait another 50 years. All right. So let's get into this. Let's get into this. So we're going to talk about non-descendible. All right. Exactly what it is, what it means. And the majority of our people are a people of, that's described as non-descendable. And if you don't know what that term means, then then you will learn exactly what it means in this lesson. All right. So I'm always excited to bring information. I'm very passionate about what I do. So let's get into this. Let me share my screen. And once again, this is a post from Facebook from a group. I did put it in the description below, because one thing with me, I like to give people as much information as possible to do your own research. I like to give you the source. I don't want to just come on here and be like, oh, well, Chief said this and that. That's not who I am. Okay. This has nothing to do with ego. I want you to know where I got it from. Okay. Period. So that came from a Facebook group, and the group is called Underground American Aborigine. Okay. So you could look them up, check it out. But this article, okay, was written up by Ken Brisbane, okay, or Brisbane. All right. So I'm gonna read that, and it pretty much, covers a lot of the things that I spoke of, but it's good to see things or hear things from a different perspective. All right. So, and I think he did a great job. So let's get into this. Let me see if I could blow this up some more so you guys could actually see it on the screen. Okay. So this was actually written or published on July 17th, 2018. All right. So we're going to talk about the status of non-descendible, what exactly it means. Okay. So non-descendible, there is no such thing as black people, which I have told you that on many, many, many occasions. But this brother is giving it from a different perspective. Okay. Or well, from his perspective. But when you look at it, it's all the same information that we are bringing. Now, who are we today? Are we Moors? Because we have a lot of Moors telling us, oh, well, we are Moor. We all are Moors. And, no, we are not all Moors. Okay. We Muslims. No, we are not. Christians. No. Christians, Hebrews, the original Hebrew Israelites, they are not American Aborigines. Okay. They came into this land just like the Moors. Okay. Just like the Christians and the Muslims. Okay. Like Africans, they all came here. They all came here. Okay. Who are we? We are Americans, but we're looking at all the different names that we are being called. So Moors, Muslims, Christians, Hebrews, Africans, American, African American, Native, Negroes, the N-word, boy, coon, putsch, monkey, Afro-American, bed wench, or just plain old Keisha and Tyrone. He's saying, seriously though, who are we? Okay. And I like the way he expressed himself when he wrote that. Right now, he says, and that's speaking of Ken, right, the gentleman who wrote this. I represent a group of 45 million people who have been named by other people, but we have never once named ourselves. Now, I'm just going to be quite frank with you. All right. I personally think it's more than 45 million of us. All right. The whole goal, in my opinion, and again, that's my opinion, I don't have statistics to validate what I'm saying, but based on, once again, just kind of like conductive reasoning in my own mind, I already know what the system does, because they always want us to think that we are the minority. Okay, but I know it's a whole lot more of us than them. Why? Because this is our land. We have always been here. Okay. And no, we were not all killed off by smallpox and all that. No, that's not true. So I personally think it's over 100 million of us here. Okay. Just in the United States. I personally believe that, honestly. Okay. So, but he's giving the number 45 million because that's what they are putting on record. Okay. So he says, I represent a group of 45 million people who have been named by other people, but we have never once named ourselves. And that's a fact. All right. Every 20 years is different classification. And each time we have been named, it further hides who we truly are. And that is the goal. The goal is to completely erase us from who we truly are. Okay. And it was said by, I'm not sure if it was Andrew Jackson or one of them. Okay. That he said that if it was him, the quote was, save the man, but kill the Indian. And that is the goal. And we are the only ethnic group or race in the world whose identity have changed, okay, knowingly, okay, at least 7 times. No other ethnic group in the world. And that alone in itself should tell us that something is not right. that should definitely be a red flag. So my question to my people is, why aren't you at least thinking that much? Okay, so that could ignite something in you to do more research. Why do we constantly just go with the flow? Oh, today you are this, 10 years from now you are this, that you are this. And the further we go, they're taking us away from who we truly are. Okay, now currently we are non-descendable, and we are talking about the majority, the status quo of so-called Black people or African American. Okay, they are non-descendable. All right, now what does it mean? Okay, what that means is we technically have no origin. That's a fact. That's what non-descendable means in essence, right? We were created in someone's mind. We are just an idea on a piece of paper, and of course I've taught you that on in many different videos, right? We are nothing more than a bunch of labels associated with a bunch of bylaws which are attached to corporate interests. I ask again, who are we today? All right. So in short, or in essence, that's what non-descendable means. All right. A people without an origin. Because why? We were created in someone's mind. We only exist on paper. Okay. So it begs the question, what are these so-called leaders, these so-called educated people? Why aren't they talking about this? Why are they going with the flow? You feel me? Why is that? Is it because they don't know, or because it pays to keep our people lost, to keep them in the status of being non-descendable, keep them in the status of being dead, non-existent? Okay, it's a big business. Now, people that lynched us told us who we are, and that's a fact. Whether it's the so-called Black people who came here or the pale man who took over, the point is they were immigrants and colonizers and called themselves settlers. A settler is a colonizer, okay, that came into our land and lynched us and gave us an identity. Now, this is Ken speaking. In my opinion, anytime someone has a history of misinforming you, then it would be very wise to discredit everything they have told you. But yet still our people are not questioning anything. They are going with the flow, and they only operate on emotions. Okay, even if someone feels good when you hear it, you must keep in mind that the intent of the person telling you the information, and that's why I always speak about intentions. Okay, our lyncher cannot be our source for information. We must go deeper than that. Our lyncher tells us that we are African. Well, is that true or not? Africa is a large continent. So where in Africa are we actually from? Let's keep in mind that before the 1600s, there was no such thing as Black person. Okay, people were known by their nation. So who are we today? And once again, that is a fact. Before the 1600s, people would not call that just a color. Now, mind you, how is it that? Isn't it ironic? And once again, I always ask my people to think, my brothers and sisters, right? How is that? All the pale people that came into the Americas, be it they came here in the 1600s as slaves or servants, or they came as immigrants, okay, in the early 1900s, guess what? There is a record of their point of origin. They know exactly where they came from, even in the 1600s. So how are you going to tell me, okay, if slavery started in the Americas in the 1600s, how is that there is no point of origin for the so-called Black slaves that came into the Americas, except for just African? But yet still, a point of origin was set for the pale people that came in the 1600s. Why aren't we questioning those things? Now, wouldn't it benefit the so-called slave masters, if that's what they really were? Wouldn't that benefit the slave masters to make sure that there is detailed record to prove to these people that they're Africans? I mean, it would benefit them, don't you think? I mean, if I was going to, if I was going to create slavery, all right, and say, hey, you know what? You guys are slaves from Africa. Don't you think I would have the records to prove my point? Yes, you would. But there are no records to show that we came from Africa. There are no records telling you what country in Africa we came from. That is because it never happened. It was all a lie. You feel me? What is a status? The status of a person is his or her legal position or condition. Thus, when we say that the status of a woman after a decree nisi for the dissolution of her marriage with her husband has been made, but before it has been made absolute, is that of a married woman, we mean that she has the same legal rights, liabilities, and disabilities as an ordinary married woman. The term is chiefly applied to persons under disability or persons who have some peculiar condition which prevents the general law from applying to them in the same way as it does to ordinary persons. Sweet. And here's a court case, right? C. Barney versus Tutelot, 138 Massachusetts 108. De La Montana versus De La Montana 112 California 115 period 44 PAC 345 32L RA 8253 AM blah 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 blah, right? That is just a court case that's being cited, right? A court case that's being cited. Once again, you have the link, you could look it up, right? But there are certain rights and duties with certain capacities, and incapacities to take rights and incur duties by which persons as subjects of law are variously determined to certain class. The rights, duties, capacities, or incapacities which determine a given person to any of these classes constitute a condition or status with which the person is vested. Okay? And of course, we have Black's Law Dictionary. Black people are legal creations. Okay? Keep that in mind. Black people are legal creations. Okay? Without capitalization, there wouldn't be a people called Black because, all right, because of capitalization, we have legal fictions that are created because in so-called proper English, you cannot write, okay, a proper noun in just uppercase. Okay, it has to be upper and lowercase. You feel me? So that in itself should tell you that this was an entity that was created on paper. Okay, it only works inside the narrative of capitalism. There is no land, no country, no flag, no religion, no codes and customs, and no international law that represents any people on earth calling themselves Black. And that is a fact. Why aren't your Boyce Watkins, your Uma Johnsons, your Roland Martins, okay, your all these people that people look up to, okay? Why aren't they telling this so-called fake Black people that don't exist? Why aren't they telling them the truth? And then when we speak the truth, we are ostracized and we're looked upon as the enemy, that we're not proud to be Black. Well, guess what? I'm not Black, not on paper and not in complexion. Okay? Black is a social construct, a form of magic. That's what it is. Relegating a group of millions to paperwork. Hence the term paper genocide. When control of Louisiana shifted to the United States after the Louisiana Purchase, the contrast with the Protestant South was evident, as their English norms prevailed and interracial relationships were officially discouraged. The Americanization of Louisiana gradually resulted in the same binary system about race, with free people of color losing some status and even certain rights as they became characterized as officially black. Okay, the source, Americanization of Louisiana. Black, commonly used in records to describe someone who was or was believed to be of pure African descent. Now remember that little phrase right there, believed to be, it's a theory. That's why they cannot tell you definitively, okay? But when our people read, we don't read with understanding because we were not taught to read, okay, with understanding. Most of us were taught to read to finish. In fact, a lot of people, and I'm telling you things that I know for a fact, all right? Because back in the days, I used to do a lot of videos when I used to read a lot. And I was just so surprised and astounded to the amount of brothers and sisters that would send me emails and say, Chief, I want to thank you for reading that book because I am 35, I am 29, I am 48, I'm 52, and I cannot read. It broke my heart. You feel me? So that's why that's another reason why I take my time and I do these things and I read. You dig? So black, commonly used in records to describe someone who was or who was believed to be of pure African descent. The terms colored or mulatto were usually used to describe people mixed with African and European ancestry. Black was also used more generally genetically to refer to all people with African ancestry. Glossary archive, they have the PDF with some slave terms. So the link is in the description. You could click on that and you could just look at some of the slave terms that they used back then. Okay. Now, this is from the National Archive Glossary. And it's interesting because black is a term believed to be, and it's also in the National Archive Glossary. When they talk about being black, they say that they are believed to be from Africa. But once again, if you look in the word believe, right in the middle of believe, there is the word L-I-E, a lie. My brothers and sisters, those words and expressions are used for a reason. Well, I already explained how they took over, so I'm not going to do that again. I've done many videos explaining that. All right. So, but in the word believe, as you could see, there is the word lie. So basically, people of a certain hue were labeled a color. And when that happened, that stripped them from their national origin and black became their legal status. Black isn't a nationality or a landmass. It's nothing but an idea created in someone's mind. And once again, may I reiterate, it is not the so-called white man that called you black. Okay? So when we say, how did these people take over? Who are these people are you referring to? Because the people who came here, they look just like us. All right? So I always have to make that clear. Okay? There were millions of people living in the West that were not African, but were reclassified as Africans. And because of that reclassification, they have become non-descendible. If your skin was so-called dark, then it was believed. It was believed, a theory, that you were from Africa, and therefore your indigenous nationality was stripped from you. There is no such thing as black. People are not crayons, and I've told you that a million times. And people are not supposed to be non-descendable, because if you are, that means you have no right. So my brothers and sisters that continuously, okay, are pushing the narrative of us being black, non-descendable, don't exist, thinking that you're going to get rights from a corporation that knows this, you are wasting your time. That's why the police could shoot you in the street and get away with it, because you don't exist. Okay? That's why the judge could literally send you to jail for 20 years for a roach, when another ethnic group will get, you know, a 2-week suspension for whatever. It's a whole different ball game because you don't exist. Okay? People have ancestors and homeland. Okay, not a color. But when you agree that you are a person of color, you are agreeing that you are in fact a legal concept. That's why they're always pushing black, people of color, and our people don't realize that. Okay, that's called black magic. It's a spell. You feel me? And somebody said Africans are our enemies. I wouldn't go as far as saying that, and that's just my opinion. I respect your opinion, okay? But I wouldn't go as far as saying that because a lot of Africans don't know. What you have to realize is that Africans, real Africans, were taught the reverse, okay? A lot of them would, some of them were taught the reverse. And then some of them were never told about this whole slavery thing. All right. So I wouldn't say that they are our enemies because, yes, even some of our ancestors sold out. So some of our ancestors were our enemies. You feel me? So we have to speak the truth about all this. But yes, a lot of them did go along with the game. You did. All right. What is a color? An appearance, a semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. That is a color, just like how they have color of law. It doesn't deal with real law. It appears to be real, a semblance of law, okay? And that's how so-called black people are being governed because they are not real, okay? A prima facie, an apparent right. Hence, a deceptive appearance, a plausible assumed exterior concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. And you could look at this railroad company versus V. Alfrey 64 Iowa. So you could go ahead and read that, cite that case, okay? I'm not going to read the entire thing. In pleading, ground of action admitted to subsist in the opposite party by the pleading of one of the parties to an action, which is so set out as to apparently valid, but which is the reality legally insufficient. This was the term of the ancient rhetoricians and early adopted into the language of pleading. It was an apparent or prima facie right, and the meaning of the rule that pleadings in confession and avoidance should give color was that they should confess the matter adversely alleged to such an extent, at least, as to admit some apparent right in the opposite party, which required to be encountered and avoided by the allegation of new matter. Color was either expressed, inserted in the pleading, or implied, which was naturally inherent in the structure of pleading. Okay, so that's why when you go before court, okay, it is already assumed and presumed that you are black, that you are a person of color. Why? Because you have acquiesced to that. And when you have acquiesced to that, then literally you agreeing to what they are saying. You don't exist. You have no rights. Okay, and there's another citation. You could go ahead and look that up yourself. The word also means the dark color of the skin, showing the presence of Negro blood, and hence it is equivalent to what? African descent or percentage, and that's Black's law. So go look that up for yourself. And Black's law is the dictionary that they use in these courts. All right. When a human being becomes a color, that human being stops being human. Okay, and is void of international recognition. So it don't matter where you go around the world. If you call yourself black, you don't exist. Okay, there is no international law protecting so-called black people. Color dilutes the reality of the person and makes them a thing or an object. And my brothers and sisters, that's why you are dealing with what you are dealing with in this legal system that is governing you by the color of law. Okay, it is the semblance of law. It is not real. Just like how there's a difference between legal and lawful. Legal is of law, but law is not of legal. Okay, and I've done videos breaking that down, so no sense in going in any further detail. Now, black lives can never matter. I repeat that. And I'm glad he's reiterating that. All right. What exactly is black life? Is a black cat included in Black Lives Matter movement? Because you're just saying Black Lives Matter. Okay. A cat is black. Is it part of that movement? What about a black spider or a black puppy? Just know Black Lives Matter. All of those lives are black. So do they matter? Black objects will never and can never matter because they don't exist. People cannot be colors. Colors will not have unalienable rights associated with them. That's not the way things work. Okay? Language is very important because languages create what? Spells. All right? And we have spoken about that in many videos. The word is spelled in. So each time you say a word, it has downloadable software attached to it. Okay, hence we deal with the etymology of words. Okay, the origin of the word. You become the words that are attached to you. So when Europeans encountered people from this land, those people became something else after the label was attached. And once again, may I reiterate, the first set of Europeans that came here, okay, they were the Britons, the so-called Black Britons, okay, from the British Empire, and some of them were, of course, African nobility. Okay, it wasn't the pale man. Y'all are giving these pale people too much credit. I keep telling y'all that. Okay, now, even Africans became something else after they were called black. When people became Negro, black or colored, that's the day they became unhuman and were subject to imagination of the people who named them. Okay. Now, back then, before 1492, it was this so-called black nobility. They were the ones enslaving some of their own people as well. And they called them Negroes. It was a category, okay, to call them Negroes. So hence you had the Negroes de Guinea and you had the Negroes de Terra. The Negro de Guinea was considered African, and they named the so-called Negroes in the Americas Negro de Terra. Okay, so right there, we were already stripped of our indigenous identity. Okay, black people are federal property, just like the native people right now taking our place. Nothing but federal property. Okay, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free so-called black people. It just allowed blacks to participate in capitalism. And isn't that what I'm always teaching you? Okay, all we wanted to do was fit into this society and participate in commerce. But that was a price we had to pay for that. Okay, for capitalism to truly work, black people would have to be consuming class. Family, I'm going to repeat that again. Here it goes from another brother's perspective. And haven't I always told you consumers get consumed? Why? Because being black, okay, means that you are the biggest consumer on the planet. Okay? For capitalism to truly work, black people would have to be what? A consuming class. With inflation on the rise, even those so-called black people were now being paid for their labor. It didn't matter because it was the equivalent to pennies on the dollar. Black Americans have no treaties with the United States. That's facts. Okay? And technically, no one black can be a citizen because to be a citizen, you must be what? Human first. Family, I don't make these things up. Okay? If people give up their humanity to become black, then they give up nationhood. They give up law. And they are admitting that they are 3/5 of a human. Saying you are black is basically saying I am not, I am sort of like a human. Looking for identity. So what are we? What name are we going by this week? In 20 years, I'm sure we will fall under a different set of bylaws and labels. The problem with the lost tribes of the North of America, our complete history has been erased and replaced with a corporate history. Okay, hence the Cherokee Nation. It is all a fictitious corporation that was created to replace the original Anion. Okay, yes, tell them Chief Kalinago said it. Okay, instead of embracing that we are our own people and developing our own culture, we are wasting time attaching ourselves to new corporate labels like Negro, Black, and Colored, while simultaneously looking in the past for something to belong to. So, who are we today? Identity affects self-esteem. Belief in oneself is the highest level of belief that a person can have. But without identity, there is no possibility of self-belief. We did not name ourselves Black. Someone called us that, therefore, that cannot be our classification. There wasn't a national vote taken to see if the lost or unrecognized tribes of North America agreed on the label African American either. So that cannot be our name. And I'm glad he kind of like put that in quotes. Lost unrecognized. Because the ones that are recognized are the ones that's perpetrating to be us. Okay? They are the frauds. So that's why they set up a system, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, to decide who an Indian is. Okay? Keep that in mind. All right? We must name ourselves, and by doing that, we control the spell associated with the name. In the English language, black is dirty, and I've given you the etymology of the word black. It came from swat, and swat came from sordid, which means dirty. A word is a dirty word. And since English is our national language, we have to respect the programming inside of the word, because every word has a program in it. That's a fact. Okay? If the word is dirty in English and the people place something dirty on us as a classification, then maybe that word explains the bad luck nationally and globally so-called black people endure. And that's why I tell my people, if y'all could just listen to me just for once and just take this little advice from your brother Chief Kalinago, okay? And let's just give up black. And I promise you, watch the spiritual revelation that's going to take place across the globe. Let's give these people back their blackness. Family, I am telling you, we don't have to pick up a gun. We don't have to pick up a knife. We don't have to pick up a sword. Just give them back the spell and watch what's going to happen. Trust me. Okay? Watch what's going to happen. So, black, adjective. Okay? Number one, lacking hue and brightness, absorbing light without reflecting any of the rays composing to it. Like I've always told you, the black is an essence. Black is not really a color. Neither is white. Okay, that's why they had to choose these two colors. Okay, why they didn't say brown people or copper colored people? They had to use black or white because none of these are actual colors. They are essence. And black is the one that absorbs all the visible light on the light spectrum. And white does the opposite. It reflects all the visible light on the white spectrum. So black and white are literally the same thing, just opposites of each other, and they have y'all fighting against each other, still not realizing the trick that's being played. Number two, characterized by absence of light, enveloped in darkness and black night. You see me, I'm filled with light. So why would I call myself black or even dark skin? Because dark means void of light. I am not dark skin. I am not black. You feel me? Number three, soiled or stained with dirt. That shirt was black within an hour. Number four, gloomy, pessimistic, dismal, a black outlook. Number five, deliberately harmful, inexcusable, a black lie. Number six, boding ill, sullen, hostile, threatening, black words, black looks. Number seven, of coffee or tea without milk or cream. Number eight, without any moral quality or goodness, evil, wicked. His black heart has concocted yet another black deed. Number nine, indicating censure, disgrace, a liability to punishment, a black mark on one's record. Okay. Number 10, marked by disaster or misfortune, black areas of drought, Black Friday. Number 11, wearing black or dark clothing or armor, the Black Prince. Number 12, based on the grotesque, morbid, or unpleasant aspects of life, black comedy, black humor. Number 13, of check mark, flag, etc., done or written in black to indicate as on a list that which is undesirable, substandard, potentially dangerous, etc. Pilots put a black flag next to the 10 most dangerous airports. Family, we got to realize what's going on. Even when I sign my name, I don't use black pen because that means a dead man is writing his name. You feel me? My people. Number 14, illegal or underground. The black economy pays no taxes. Number 15, showing a profit, not showing any losses. The first black quarter in 2 years. Number 16, deliberately, false, intentionally misleading, black propaganda. Number 17, British boycotted as certain goods or products by a trade union. Number 18, of steel in the form in which it comes from the rolling mill or fudge unfinished, a noun. Number 19, the color at one extreme end of the scale of grays, opposite to white, absorbing all light incident upon it. Number 20, black clothing, especially as a sign of mourning. He wore black at the funeral. Number 21, chess, checkers. The dark colored men are pieces or squares. 22, black pigment lamp black. 23, black, black beauty. 24, a horse or other animal that is entirely black. Verb used with object. Okay. 25, to make black, put black on, blacken. 26, British, to boycott or ban. 27, to polish shoes, boots, etc., with blackening verb used without object. 28, to become black, take on a black color, blacken, adverb. 29, of coffee, tea, served with milk or cream. 30, black or white, completely either one way or the other without any intermediate state. Number 31, in the black, operating at a profit or being out of debt. In the red, new production methods put in the company. In the black, the game. We are caught up in two different narratives. The first narrative is the object narrative. The object narrative is an idea that exists, is someone else's mind pertaining to us. What that means is someone else controls our destiny because they control the spell, and the spell is software hardwired in words. Black is something they called us. Negro is something they called us, but it's no different from being called African American and John Brown. Okay, we exist only on paperwork. We are property, a product manufactured by the United States of America, the corporation, the federal corporation. Okay, the second narrative is the abandonment of narrative. This narrative operates on the collective insecurity of displacement North America, black, quote unquote, black people suffer from. The feeling of having no homeland or any real history outside of the slavery narrative destroys any opportunity for real self-actualization. We romanticize Africa, wanting desperately to identify with something other than being a N-word and a slave. We are Moors, we are Muslims, we are Christians, we are Hebrews, atheists, antagonistics, but none of these are our collective ideas derived from our collective imagination based on the last 500 years in America. Unless we self-define, we will forever be someone else's idea. If other people control the idea, then they will control the destiny of that idea and how it is inevitably manifest. So who are we today? Who are you? Who am I? And if it truly is a we, will, then whom do we say we are? All the other shoes have been worn before. All the other names have been taken. So the best way for us to break our mental chains and to emancipate our own selves is to make the rest of the world call us by our names that we all choose. We control our destiny, our words. Okay, now, non-descendible. All right, here we are. Non-descendible. There are millions of people living in the West that were not African, but were reclassified as African. And because of the reclassification, they have become what? Non-descendible. If your skin was dark, then it was what? Believed. Once again, believed. A perception. My question is, from whose perception? That you were from Africa and therefore your indigenous nationality was stripped from you. All right. Now let us look at here. Black people on all the way to the right. My right is a term used in certain countries, often in socially based systems of racial classification or of ethnicity, to describe persons who are what? Perceived to be dark skinned. Once again, it's perceived. You feel me? Okay. Negro. From the 18th to the 20th century, Negro meaning dark. Now, are we dark? We are not dark, because all dark means is void of light. Okay. Was commonly used to describe Africans and African slaves and freed slaves. In the records, it is usually used to refer to someone with pure African ancestry, and authors would use the term colored or mulatto to describe people who were or believed to be of mixed African or European descent. Don't you see, when you always you look at CNN or those big news platforms, it's either you're black or you're colored or you're African American. All those three terms, they are putting you in a non-descendable status, and that's why everything that's happening to you, it is legal. It is not lawful, but it's legal, because you only exist in a legal world, which means that you only exist in a fictitious world, only on paper, which is a legal realm. It is called the legal society. That's the only way you exist. And within that world, you only have privileges that can be taken away. Okay? But you don't exist. And that's why you're being governed under the color of law. People without an identity, they don't exist, only on paper. Okay? Now, black, commonly used in the records to describe someone who was or who was believed again to be of pure African descent. All right? So let's read a little more. Let me see here for a second. It says, now this is an advertisement, all right, in London Gazette, 17 to 21 April of 1690. Now, this right here was an ad. Let us take a look at this, my brothers and sisters. All right. Let me scroll down. All right. And that was in 1690. Okay. In 1690, for a runaway Indian black boy. Now, why would they call someone from Africa an Indian black boy? My people, it is time. Among the extant ads for runaway Indian servants, okay, between 1675 to 1694, the Gazette's term were what? Indian black, black Indian, boy, and like. Neither term necessarily referred to a part African person. Period. Okay? We were not called Africans in the 1600s. Courtesy of Rare Books Division, the New York Public Library, right? Note, if your skin was dark, it was believed that you were from Africa. Therefore, indigenous American nationality was stripped from you. All right? This is the photo trade card for Barrett's Old Tobacco features two black boys in indigenous garb and distinct feathers, headdresses, etc. Okay, 1700 indigenous Negro. So let us click on this. Let's pull this up and let's look at it here for a second. All right. Let me see if I could just make this a little bigger and see if this thing would come up. And we're going to read it here, okay? Let's blow this up some more. Here we go. All right. So here we are. Now, this is a real ad, okay? A real ad, okay? Let me just kind of slide this down. Hold on for a second. Here we go. Now, look at the ad and look at what it says. This trade card for Barrett's Old Tobacco features two black boys in what? Indigenous garb and the distinct aboriginal feathers headdress 1700s. Barrett Old Tobacco. And it reads, okay? It reads here. In the last years of the 1680s and continuing into the 1690s, some as described individuals who may have had Indian and African ancestry in the Latin America and parts of the British America, they have been called Zambos, but the Gazette's term were Indian black boy, and like. Neither term necessarily referred to a part African person. And that was in the 1600s. So let me ask you a question, right? If slavery started in the United States in 1619, right? How is that in 1680? You already had all these so-called black people mixing with these so-called natives so that we could become Indian. Obviously, we were already the Indians, my brothers and sisters. Okay? Now, let us read a little more. In fact, let me read the whole thing again. In the last years of the 1680s and continuing into the 1690s, some as described individuals who may have had Indian and African ancestry in Latin America and parts of British America, they would have been called Zambos, but the Gazette's term were Indian black boy, and the like. Neither term necessarily referred to a part of African person, although the former most likely did. The latter may have been an Indian who performed what? The domestic role often assigned in 17th and 18th century Britain to a black African boy. 6 notices between 1688 and 1698 were for males ranging from age blah blah blah, and they had the only female, an Indian black girl of about 15, like many African runaways in the late 17th century. So the bottom line is this: once you had dark skin or so-called black skin, okay, they just literally say you are African. Now, if we read a little further, it says, the last sentence, the last paragraph, the lady Bloomfield's black in Lincoln's Inn Fields, an Indian black boy named Andrew, not only was steel color engraved with his master's name and address, but also a steel wrist of cuffs, iron chain of collar cuffs, etc., etc., etc. But the point is, how is that in the early 1600s you had these people being called Indians? And once again, let's put 2 and 2 together. If they told us the first Africans came, okay, in the they say 1609, but it started, the full bloom started in 1619. How is that? By 1680, we're talking about another, 50, 60 years, you have all these black people running around that are Indians. Why is that? Something just don't add up. You feel me? It just doesn't make sense. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because we did not come here on slave ships from Africa. That is why it doesn't make any sense. Okay? So he's asking, why haven't you talked to your elders in your family? If you know black people are indigenous to America, why haven't you talked to the oldest families? Africa and African are misnomer terms like Indian, Negro, Black, and colored. People of color in many shades are found globally. In addition, many scholars got their education at so-called white-run universities. Okay? And we could go on and on and on and on and on. Somebody said they just threw all of their negative connotations off on us. They are the real black people, which really originally meant pale, which is true. So the people that you're calling white, they're actually the black people, because black actually means no meaning of black means pale. Okay, so that is the conclusion of the article, which I thought he did an excellent job on that. So I just wanted to kind of share that with y'all. Okay, so if anybody have any questions, any thoughts, you know what I mean, feel free to put it in the comment. And once again, my goal, my job is just to continue to share the information as to who we are as a people. And We have to give these people back their curse. We have to give it back to them. You see, once we do that, I promise you, there's going to be a spiritual revelation. All right. There's going to be a spiritual revelation when our people step up on this stage and declare that we are not black. One of my goals is to abolish Black History Month. Okay, I know it's going to take a lot. I can't do it alone, family. I cannot do it alone. But we have to give these people black their spell. We got to. Is the only way this is going to work. It has to be spiritual first. Okay, and this is black magic that is being played on our people, and that is a fact. Okay, so if you found some value in this little presentation, do me a favor, go ahead and type some 8s in the chat, and I'm about to conclude this build. All right, I promise this is the, well, when Michael Jackson said this is it, we saw what happened. So I'm not gonna say this is it, but I'm definitely wanted to bring you at least another live before I conclude getting some rest. All right, but definitely I just wanted to kind of go through that and point that out. So please do me a favor, family. Share the information with people. We cannot force the information of people, but keep dripping on them. Keep giving them this little jewels, the little nuggets. All right. And eventually, I promise you, we'll start coming together as a people, and we will fight this misclassification and this misidentity, and give these people back all their terms in, colored, African American, Negro, black, all these terms. That's not us. Those are black magic spells. Okay. And we have to give it back to them. All right. And once we do that, I promise you, it's not, I think, I know. Okay. There's going to be literally, all right, an ancestral intervention, because our ancestors are literally turning in their grave because they are not in their graves. Okay, so they're not at rest. That's why any of my ancestors that transition, I never say rest in peace. I never say that, because they cannot be. How am I going to ask them to rest in peace? Can't do that. There's too much work to be done. You feel me? So I don't say that. All right. So we got work to do, man. We got work to do. Okay. We got work to do, because everything that we are being used is literally a vice. Okay. That works against us. And we are literally casting those spells, because in this power, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And by us calling ourselves black, that's exactly what we are doing. We are claiming that we're dead. We are claiming that we don't exist. Non-descendible, a people with no land, no identity. You are not considered a human. You are not considered man or woman. You are considered property, because you don't exist. All right. That's why when you are being identified, when the police pull you over, hey, that 10-4, that 90, it's a black male, black female. Okay. That have to be established to put on the record, all right, that it's property. You did. Okay. So thank you once again. And I will catch y'all on the next live. Be good to yourselves, love each other, and respect each other. All right. It is time for us to come together. We'll talk soon.